My dear friends, today I want to talk to you about something so vital, so profoundly tied to the very rhythm of your life, that I beg you to hear me out completely. I know how precious every single heartbeat becomes as we advance in age. I have spent over 4 decades caring for older adults, holding trembling hands, reading worried eyes, listening to countless fears whispered across my examination table. It gives me no comfort to say that so many of the problems that steal joy from your days and threaten the very life you hold, dear, start not in some dramatic accident, but quietly, slowly, almost invisibly, often right in the tender hours when you lie asleep, dreaming, unaware that harm could possibly be finding its way into your chest. This is why I am here, almost pleading with you. Seniors, please, stop sleeping in this position immediately. It is slowly straining your heart. I wish that sounded like exaggeration. I wish it were some trivial worry I could dismiss with a chuckle. But it is not. It is real. It is supported by genuine evidence, studies that have traced the toll of long hours spent night after night in the wrong posture. It's something that, if you change today, could add years of stronger, steadier heartbeats to your life. Let me walk you through this as a physician who cares not only about extending your days, but about enriching the quality of each one. You see, most people never stop to consider how the way they sleep could be burdening the very organ that keeps them alive. They think about diet, about exercise, about taking pills at the right hour. Those are all critical, yes. But so is how your body rests for roughly 1/3 of your entire life. Imagine that. If you live to be 90, you have spent nearly 30 entire years lying in bed. 30 years of influence on your circulation, your breathing, your spinal alignment, and yes, your heart. Now, here is the plain truth. The most dangerous sleeping position for your heart, especially in the later decades of life, is lying flat on your back. I know that surprises many. They often tell me, but doctor, it feels so natural. Or my joints ache less that way. Still, I have to explain with as much compassion as I can that sleeping on your back increases the likelihood of sleep apnea, a condition where your airway repeatedly closes off during sleep. This starves your heart and brain of oxygen, causing your blood pressure to spike suddenly, over and over. You might not even realize it. You may not wake up fully. But inside, your poor heart is jolted dozens, sometimes hundreds of times each night. There was a landmark study published in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine. Researchers monitored older adults who snored or had mild sleep apnea. They found that sleeping on the back dramatically worsened the number of oxygen desaturations per hour. Each time the oxygen dropped, the heart had to pump harder, the blood vessels tightened, stress hormones surged. Imagine your heart racing suddenly in the dead of night, again and again. This does not just disrupt your sleep. Over years, it reshapes the very muscles of your heart. It leads to an enlarged left ventricle, stiff arteries, and a higher risk of atrial fibrillation. If you ever wake up with your heart pounding, feeling out of breath, or with a dry mouth and morning headache, please take this as a gentle alarm bell. You may already be experiencing the hidden consequences of sleeping on your back. And it does not stop there. Even without full blown sleep apnea, lying flat on your back can allow your tongue and soft tissues to collapse backward, narrowing your airway. Your breathing becomes shallow. Carbon dioxide builds up. Your heart notices. It must compensate. Studies using overnight polysomnography, which is a fancy term for sleep studies with brain and breathing monitors, show that even healthy older adults have more nighttime blood pressure surges when they lie on their backs compared to their sides. You might wonder, why does this become more dangerous with age? The answer is partly because the tissues in your throat lose tone as you grow older. The tongue becomes more likely to fall backward. The fat pads around the neck may enlarge slightly with age. The nerves that keep your airway rigid do not fire quite as reliably. All this makes you more vulnerable to partial blockages, and the heart, ever vigilant, tries to compensate. Over time, this persistent extra work exhausts it. I remember a dear patient of mine, a gentle retired school teacher in her late 70s. She came to me with mild heart failure, controlled well with medication. Her main complaint was fatigue. She said she was following all the rules, eating carefully, taking her walks, keeping up with her pills, but still she felt drained. Her daughter mentioned loud snoring and that she often found her mother lying flat on her back, mouth wide open. We arranged a home sleep study. It revealed that during these back sleeping episodes, her oxygen dipped below 90%, nearly 30 times an hour. Her heart rate would jump from 50 to over 100 in seconds, night after night. After we encouraged her to use pillows to keep her on her side and gently elevated her head, her next study looked far better. And more importantly, she began to feel brighter, more alive. There is also another dimension to this. When you lie flat on your back, blood from your legs returns more easily to the chest. In someone with even mild underlying heart weakness, this can slightly overload the heart during the night, increasing pressures in the lungs. That is why people with heart failure often wake up suddenly needing to sit up and catch their breath. Over years, this repeated strain scars the heart. So you see, my dear seniors, this is not a small matter. It is not some trivial preference like choosing one side of the bed over the other. It is a choice that can tip the delicate balance of how your heart functions during the long hours of rest when it should be recovering and repairing. What position should you sleep in then? The very best for most older adults, supported by multiple small but meaningful clinical trials, is sleeping on the left side. This position helps gravity keep the tongue forward, protecting the airway. It also promotes better blood return from the heart. Because of the way the heart sits tilted in the chest, sleeping on the left allows it to pump more efficiently, reducing strain. A study in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine showed that left side sleeping reduced nighttime blood pressure spikes in people prone to hypertension. Another investigation found that in heart failure patients, left side sleeping helped reduce episodes of shortness of breath at night. I know some of you might say, but doctor, when I lie on my left side, I feel pressure or discomfort. That is sometimes due to mild acid reflux, which is ironically often improved by sleeping on the left because it keeps the stomach below the esophagus. If you feel uncomfortable, try using a pillow between your knees, which aligns your hips and makes side sleeping easier. Use a small pillow to gently support your upper arm and keep your shoulders relaxed. Others ask, what about sleeping on the right side? It is generally acceptable, especially if left side sleeping feels impossible. It still keeps the airway more open than lying on your back. However, for people with certain types of heart conditions, right side sleeping can slightly compress the heart. This is subtle and usually not an issue unless you have significant heart enlargement. Now, let me speak to you not just as a doctor, but as someone who has watched far too many good people suffer avoidable heart problems simply because they did not know. I have seen the tears in the eyes of spouses who noticed the snoring and gasping but did not realize the heart was paying the price. I have felt the grip of a trembling hand when I explained why the heart had become so tired, so stiff, so enlarged, in large part because of long nights spent struggling quietly for breath. Please do not dismiss this advice. I promise you, it comes not from a place of lecturing, but from deep caring, from wanting to spare you the hospital beds, the tubes, the frightened family gathered at 2 in the morning because your heart finally gave up after years of silent burden. Start tonight. Place a soft pillow against your back so if you roll, you stay gently on your side. Use another between your knees. Elevate your head slightly with an extra pillow to keep your airway open. It may feel strange at first, but within a week or two, it will become habit. And your heart, that tireless, faithful muscle, will thank you every night with steadier, calmer beats. If you ever feel daytime fatigue, or if a loved one notices your breathing stops or becomes erratic at night, please seek out a sleep study. Even simple at-home devices can reveal if your heart is being forced to fight battles while you're supposed to be resting. Modern treatments are so much better than decades ago. Sometimes all it takes is a small change in sleeping position. So, my dear seniors, hear these words with the weight I intend them. I am begging you, stop sleeping on your back. It's slowly straining your heart. Let your nights become a true time of healing, not hidden struggle. Take this simple step. Choose to protect that beautiful, devoted heart of yours so it can keep beating strong, steady, and full of life for many more cherished days to come. My dear friends, I know one of the first questions that comes to your mind after learning how important your sleeping position is for your heart is simply this: how long will it take before you start to feel the benefits if you change it? This is such an honest question. It shows you are truly considering making this change, and I want to honor that by giving you a clear, compassionate answer. The truth is, your body is remarkably quick to respond when you remove nightly stresses from your heart and breathing. In fact, several small but important studies show that within just 1 to 2 weeks of consistently sleeping on your side, your heart and lungs begin to show signs of relief. Let me share a study published in the journal Chest. Researchers followed adults who had mild sleep apnea or nighttime oxygen dips. They coached them to avoid sleeping on their backs by using simple side sleeping aids. Within 14 nights, most participants showed fewer nighttime heart rate spikes and improved overnight oxygen levels. Their hearts were no longer being startled awake by sudden drops in oxygen. Another study in the European Respiratory Journal looked at older patients with mild heart failure. After they started sleeping on their left sides, many reported waking up feeling less breathless within about 10 days. Their overnight blood pressures were more stable. I remember a patient of mine, a kind man in his early 70s who was always skeptical of what he called new health fads. When I first suggested he try sleeping on his side to help his mild hypertension and loud snoring, he laughed gently, but with respect for our long relationship, he agreed to give it a try. After just about 2 weeks, he returned with a little smile. He said he felt more rested in the mornings, less foggy, and his wife noticed he was hardly ever gasping or snorting in the night anymore. His home blood pressure readings also dropped by about 5 points on average. It was not magic. It was simply allowing his heart and lungs to work without the extra struggle. Of course, how quickly you notice benefits depends on your starting point. If you have been dealing with long-standing heart strain or severe sleep apnea, it may take a month or more to feel profound changes. But nearly everyone I have guided through this notices at least some small improvements within the first fortnight. That might be waking up with less of a headache, having fewer nighttime trips to the bathroom, or feeling slightly more energized in the afternoon. All these are quiet signs that your heart is getting a break at night and finally catching up on its vital repair work. You see, when you change how you sleep, you're not just chasing comfort. You're giving your heart a gentler night so it can keep beating strong for your days. Each night you spend on your side reduces the episodes where your airway partially collapses. That means fewer bursts of adrenaline, lower nighttime blood pressure swings, and more steady oxygen. Over weeks, this calms the overall workload on your heart. It also means your arteries face less nightly turbulence, which long term helps reduce the thickening and stiffening that leads to serious problems. So please, do not lose heart if it feels awkward at first or if you only notice small differences. Trust in the slow, quiet power of each night to heal. Your body is wise. It begins repairing the moment you remove the hidden stresses. Stay with it for just a few weeks. In most cases, that is all it takes before your mornings begin to whisper a new promise of energy, calm, and a stronger heart, carrying you into more joyful days.